ready diving for the river.
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
What? It's every person's nightmare. You get on a plane and you pray that it lands safely. For our guest today, Dave Sanderson, 10 years ago, January the 15th, his plane landed all right, but it landed in the Hudson. You were a passenger on that very famous Miracle on the Hudson flight. And Dave was 4 seats behind the left wing. And he's here to tell us about what happened after that. Dave, thank you for joining us today.
Rita, thank you for having me today.
Tell me what happened directly after you heard the captain say,
This is your captain, brace for impact. That's the only thing that I heard from the captain. So once that happened, the first thing I did is I prayed, because candidly, I had never heard that command on a plane before. So that got my attention. But as soon as I saw that, and I looked out the left wing, because I was right behind the left wing. I saw New Jersey, but when I looked down over the George Washington Bridge, you could see people's faces looking up at you. So you knew you were close. And I found out later we were only about 400 feet above the bridge, because the feet's about 600. Bridge is about 600 feet up. So we were roughly 1,000 feet heading straight into the river. So I knew at that point it was pretty serious.
But at that point there, you felt the impact of the Canadian geese. They were Canadian geese, apparently.
The big geese.
They were
big geese. Yes.
And you felt that impact, but then you didn't really think there was a problem.
No, I fly so often, I just thought plane lost an engine. No big deal, because I know planes have multiple engines. But no one knew. I think that's one thing that people still question about is, how did that happen? It's like, what happened simultaneously? And that just doesn't happen. When things happen at the same time, because everybody heard one bang. And I think if people would have heard bang, bang, people would say, uh-oh, we got a problem. But we heard bang, so it's like, okay, we got another engine. No big deal.
No big deal. So from that moment when you heard brace for impact, and then you did, and apparently when the plane hit the water, it was quite rough.
It was a rough hit. He hit it perfectly, as we know. The crew did a fabulous job. I'll be forever grateful, but it was a hard hit. When we hit, I went back in my seat and up in my seat that quickly. When I came back up, I looked out the window, and I saw light. So I knew I was awake, and I knew I was alive, but I wasn't out yet.
Unbelievable. Now tell me that when panic seemed to hit at that moment, people were getting up, they didn't know where to go. You were being directed, because you were closer to the front of the plane.
Yeah.
You were directed to go out the front, but you didn't. And tell us why. This is an amazing piece of the story.
Well, Rita, my game plan was get to the aisle, get up, and get out. And so I got to the aisle, and that was my game plan. But all of a sudden, as soon as I hit the aisle, something happened that changed everything. I heard my mom start talking in my head. And my mom had passed away in 1997, but there's something she would tell me when I was a child was, if you do the right thing, God will take care of you. And not that don't do it, it's just that she have me make a choice, and the choice I made is I knew I was alive. But I also grew up, playing sports and athletics and Boy Scouts, where I was with a team, and you take care of other people. So I just made my way towards the back of the plane and just got behind everybody else and started making my way out.
Herding people to the front. So when everybody was running in front, Dave was going to the back, and the water was rising.
It was, you saw how the plane was situated. It was sort of just sticking out of the water. So the back of the plane had more water than the front of the plane.
Right.
So it was pretty deep in the back. It was probably anywhere from knee to waist deep at that point in time.
So when we got to the point when you could get out and onto the wing, there was no more space.
No, when I saw the first light, it was a 10F. My game plan was to get out. But when I looked out, there was no room on the wing for me. Plus, there was no room on that boat for me. Wow. So that's why I was inside the plane for about 7 minutes, waist deep in 36-degree Fahrenheit water. But it was amazing. People were already being rescued that quickly. That's what really, one thing I remember is like, man, people are already being rescued.
And you've been giving back to the community since day one.
Well, I think one of the things I learned, Rita, was this, is that I was so focused on my business, and I would schedule everything around my business and then fit my family in. And this sort of woke me up. It's like, I've sort of got this backwards. I need to start focusing on my family and working business in. So that sort of changed my whole perspective. But the reason I give back is, the more I have a lot of gratitude. I shouldn't be here today. But the Red Cross that day were there for me 3 times. More importantly, they were there for my family the next day when I got home to Charlotte, taking care of my family. So that's why I speak so passionately and help the Red Cross.
And you've been raising quite a bit of money for the Red Cross and for first responders in the last 10 years.
Most definitely. I started with the Red Cross, and we've raised over $13 million US for the Red Cross. But the last couple of years, I've been doing other first responding units, because what we're realizing is there's a lot of other ways that we can impact people, and our story is just not one story. It's a story of miracles.
How long did it take you to get back on the horse, as they say, to get back on an aircraft?
Well, candidly, the next day, I was sort of being told what to do, so I got on the plane the next day, but when I got back, my company asked me to fly the next week to Michigan, and that was my next actually flight by myself, which was candidly pretty tough for me. I was in the back of the plane, I was on another airline, not that there's anything wrong with that airline, but I was known at least on US Airways.
Wow.
So I wasn't being taken care of. So it was the next week when I actually got on the plane for the first time by myself.
That's amazing. That's very brave.
Well,
And the movie came out. How did you perceive the movie and the captain's role in it? Was it especially because they did it in real time? They took off and they landed in real time. But how did you perceive that whole movie?
well, first I think that Clint Eastwood did a fabulous job with the movie. I think he got the story right. I know they took some liberties for certain things. They always do that for movies. But I think overall that Clint Eastwood wanted to represent it the right way, and he did, and I was extremely proud. In fact, it was very emotional when I took my family to see it.
Well, Dave Sanderson, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your messaging, and we're so happy that you are here.
Thank you very much, Rita.
Let us know what you think. Tweet us, Facebook us, watch us on YouTube. We'd like to hear from you.